I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, Ms. Clark.
Trustee Bertelson?
Here.
Trustee Black?
Here.
Trustee D?
Here.
Trustee Lucine?
Here.
Trustee Moran?
Excused.
Trustee Neal?
Here.
Trustee Sarah Wilson?
Here.
Trustee Sandy Wilson?
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm not sure who I'm welcoming to the July 13th meeting, Bozeman School District Board meeting. Thank you for joining us. Public comment will be taken throughout the meeting on agenda and non-agenda items. During public comment, no member of the public will be allowed to comment on contested cases, other adjudicated proceedings, or personnel matters. The public portion of this meeting are being recorded in accordance with District Policy 1420 and Section 2-3-214 MCA. By remaining in this meeting, all participants and attendees acknowledge that they may appear on recording, which is placed on the school district's website for a minimum of 1 year today. Further instructions about participating will be provided throughout the meeting. Before we engage, I'd like to remind everyone the core purpose of the Bozeman School District, which can be found on the back of our nameplates as well as to my left. It reads, Bozeman Public Schools exist to ensure a high level of learning for all students. It's nice
Motion
to
to
see everybody
approve.
here. All right. We'll get into action and consent items. Thanks, Greg.
Motion to approve consent agenda 3.1 through 3.4.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Neal, seconded by Trustee Sandy Wilson. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0.
Motion to approve consent agenda item 3.5.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Neal, seconded by Trustee Bertelson. Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. All right, next up, action item singular. First item, I believe these are all yours, Casey.
Thank you, Chair Black. Yeah, Mr. Van Buren, click on that. On an annual basis, the trustees approve the PIR matrix, and we thought we would spend just a few minutes walking through all the pieces of that puzzle because it's become quite a coordinated endeavor. Curriculum TOSA Alex Ide had a medical issue, otherwise he was going to be here and talk through this. So the document you're actually approving is up there. When you scroll down in that document, it has the actual PIR day matrix for all the days of the year, organized by elementary, middle, and high school. But for a moment, I want to talk through those items on the top, just kind of give you the lay of the land. So, and this kind of goes in a chronological order. So, new teachers come to our district earlier than everyone else and do orientation, and if you click on that agenda, Mars King and Eric Matthews lead that 2 days and walks you through all of the agenda items. It used to be a bit of a fire hose approach, and now it's very prioritized curriculum and technology, like what are the needs to know on day one, and you can learn the rest of it later. They focus on where to go when you need information and resources, core resource tutorials and information links, so they have access to all their curriculum. Also good to know that Alex Ide does some Google Spaces and Google kind of chats with all of our new staff. So after they get onboarded throughout the year, he's available to them, and then he also throws out topics and gets feedback, and they kind of learn as a little cohort throughout the year. As you know, new teachers are paired with a mentor. Mentor is a veteran teacher in the district. Both sides of that equation, the mentor and the mentee, get 30 CEUs for continuing education. The next one on that list is Flex Days. So this is optional professional development. This used to be it used to be the situation where if you didn't go to the October PIR days, the teachers conference in the state, you had to get your 12 hours of flexible PD somewhere else, and a lot of teachers use these 2 flex days. During negotiations, because of the rigor of doing professional learning communities, we acknowledged during negotiations, I think 2 sessions ago, that by just being a certified teacher in Bozeman Public Schools, you're going above and beyond, and you get those 12 hours for free, basically. So the teachers that are attending these flex days they really want to be there. It's optional for them. They do get CEUs they can use towards renewing their license, but not really necessary. And we've really expanded the offerings and the number of trainers, and then we use feedback surveys to kind of hone in. So when you scroll through that, there's a lot of different offerings. ML, EL, Johanna does sessions, Kelly Johnson does sections, Alex Ide does sessions, we do sessions on the science of reading. There's a little bit there for everyone, and we've really expanded those offerings. The third item on that main list, thanks Mike for hanging with me, our second year teachers have an extra contract day. So 188th contract day, and that's really divided into 2 focus areas. One is an AM session on trauma-informed practices from Johanna Burtkin, and then the second half is, I think also with Johanna, focused on significant behaviors in the classroom. 2 topics that are very applicable to all of our teachers, no matter what classroom you're in. Okay, then non-tenured teachers, this has really evolved over time as well. It's now it's where we fit in some state requirements, so suicide prevention fits into that, and Indian Education for All fits into that. But the rest of it we're using to give a deeper dive to our newer teachers around the things that are important to our district. So high-quality teaching strategies, and then solution treat, essential actions for PLCs and MTSS, classroom management, behavior trauma, and then anything that's applicable to our teacher evaluation standards. It's looked at a lot of different ways. We're excited to keep evolving it. Now it's more learning, application, and reflection. So they will learn some things, they will go apply it in their classroom, and then they will, to get credit for doing it, then they complete a reflection sheet talking about their experience in doing it. The final one is the PIR matrix. And if you read the PIR matrix, what you probably noticed is like there's some clarity around the August and September days, and then everything else is to be determined. That's very much on purpose. So we used to provide a lot more one-size-fits-all trainings. Everybody would go to Meadowlark at K5, everybody at middle school would go to CJ or SMS, and we had very specific district topics. What we've found over time is that we have buildings in different places, and they really have different needs. And we have principals that have grown their skill set. And so what we are doing now is more site-specific professional development tied to their long-range strategic plan goals, whatever that site needs to move forward. And then the district role, for some, it could appear that the district is just pushing professional development to the sites. It is actually significantly more work for us because now we're managing 12 individual buildings and their professional development plans. Our role is if they need facilitation, if they need resources, if they need coaching and support. And so they will be creating professional development plans, getting them approved by their deputy superintendents, and then rolling them out. It may result, and it looks like it is going to result in some buildings coming together on shared topics. So if they both want to dive deeper into trauma-informed strategies, for example, Johanna might facilitate with 2 or 3 buildings. But this is the first year. The high school has kind of operated like this for a long time. This is the first year we're rolling this out K-8, and there's a lot more site-based autonomy and flexibility to get them what they need when they need it. So I believe the board action item asks you to approve the PIR matrix, but also gives flexibility that it's going to have iterations and it's going to change and evolve throughout the year. That'll take any questions you have.
Sandy?
Well, first of all, I really appreciate, when I was reading through this, I was like, wow, this is really focused on the teachers, individual needs, staff needs, building needs, and then school-wide district goals and the long-range strategic plan. And I also, the other piece that I really like, and I know we've been doing it, but it seems more intentional to support first, second, and third-year teachers in the district, because we lose a lot of teachers during that time. And I really was excited about that, and that's also tailored to needs of the district, and so I really support this. I think it's great, and I like the flexibility also within it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, I would entertain a motion.
I can't see it.
Mike, will you scroll up to the
Yeah,
recommendation?
there it is. I'll do it.
Okay.
Other way. Scroll down, I mean, sorry.
And then blow it up, because the number of it. I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation as written for, what's the number on this? 4.11.
Second.
All right, motion made by trustee Sandy Wilson, seconded by trustee Bertelson. Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. All right, thanks, Casey. I think you're up next on 4.1.2.
Okay, at the last board meeting, we walked through the, sort of looking back at the year, so the 25-26 LRSP annual report. A reminder at that time, we did not have the data on the youth risk behavior survey. I sent that out via email. Mike, if you go to page 15. That's the one area that we didn't talk about. It was on hold when I presented this, but you see, go ahead and show that graph. I'll just summarize it from there. Significant reductions from the 23-24 school year. High school down to 23.88%, middle school down to 20%. Reminder that our goal is fewer than 15%, which seemed like a very significant stretch goal. But we saw a 31% decrease at the middle school and a 34% decrease at the high school. So exciting news. Also, the height of those bars is more similar to our pre-pandemic timeline. And so we are approaching being able to say that, 80% of our kids are not displaying significant depression symptoms on self-reported measures. So that's exciting. If you go to page 17, that was the other page that was sort of on hold. At the end of the year, the LRSP is completed at each individual site, and we meet with them 3 times a year, and then they finalize their data, and then they have to clean it up and take out any identifying student information, because we have pretty in-depth conversations with them to get down to the student level, and then they sort of zoom out and clean it up for public consumption. So all those links are now live. So when this gets archived on the website, it's the accountability piece for all of our school sites. That's it on that one.
Any questions or comments? Gary?
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Yeah, this is very good data. And I'm curious, when is the youth resiliency survey given to students? Remind us.
Youth Risk Behavior Survey is every other year, and it's a subset of middle school and high school students. I believe it's fall, and we get the data in the spring.
Any other questions or comments? All right, if there are none, a motion would be appreciated for our public.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for 4.1.2.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Bertelson, seconded by trustee Lucine. Any public comment? All in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Next, 4.1.3, handout. Casey, you're up again.
Okay, this is the plan, 5-year plan tied to the LRSP. I've given you some hard copies because there's quite a bit of information in here. I'm not going to go and, you need one more? I'm not going to go in great detail. I'll hit the highlights. I can tell you that the theme, if you remember last year, the theme was massive action, and there was trustee conversation around that as a lot of items. And we felt good about where we landed on success on those items. And so while you will see some things in here that are new, it's really the theme is stay the course. So that last annual plan that you just approved, you're seeing progress in almost all goal areas, and so we are doubling down on that progress, and we'll be adding some layers of complexity, but no new goals, no new goal areas. So we'll go, page 2 is grade level reading. Really no significant changes. It's just a continuation of what we've been doing, onboarding new teachers on the science of reading. We have new curriculum at K2, 3, 5, and 6, 8 that's been there for multiple years now. We're sustaining and it's diving deeper into braided MTSS and PLC systems. We have hundreds of kids right now in Summer Jumpstart at Emily Dickinson and Meadowlark and the Bella program at Highlight. We added Katie McKinney last year as a focused literacy coach at Highlight and Whittier, and that will continue. We added a language screener, catching our youngest learners' language needs early. That will continue. That was a great success. And then, as you recall, Highlight, they did a board presentation around the kind of the pathways model. So foundational literacy, very focused, targeted pathways for those kids at Highlight and Whittier. We're also somewhat expanding that across school sites that have a need or a data need that says they need that pathway model. Stop me at any time or I'll just keep rolling. So that's great grade level reading. Page 3, graduation goal. Reminder, we hit our highest graduation rate ever collected by the Montana OPI. So over the 90% threshold for 24-25, which is exciting. When this gets articulated at the building level, all K-12 buildings are, they're setting their goal around supporting multilingual English learners for this graduation goal. It's our fastest growing demographic and our most at-risk population, and so that's the focus. What you see new on this page is, in addition to the supports we already have in place for ML-EL, during the high school FTE process, we're adding an additional almost 1.0 FTE at BHS and GHS, which is going to expand the number of classes that they can provide focused ML-EL support in. And then 3, we're very excited about. We hired Amanda Aker as this new, it's kind of a dual role, adult special education and then community literacy. And so there's as you know, we are on the hook for special education services for students 19 to 22. Those that are the most significantly involved are at the Pathways program at Bozeman High School. And then there's a small subset of kids, we believe right now it's under 10, that don't really fit the Pathways model, didn't graduate with a regular high school diploma, and want to be in school. Doesn't make sense for them to be in our physical classes at Bozeman High and Gallatin High, and so they're going to be served by Amanda Aker. She will case manage, work with them on whether they're going to access adult ed, where they need job coaching and training, whatever their IEP goals are for them to graduate. And then the other part of her, that's her primary goal in the fall. And then she's also will be working with HRDC to teach literacy classes to illiterate adults within our community. There's a need for that. So we're excited about that. We're funding that position with adult education. Page 4 is PLCs. It is the framework by which we do all of our services, whether it's academic or social emotional behavior, is that braided MTSS PLC system. So we're continuing to dive deeper into those essential actions at every site. The new item is Chad met this year with a group. We moved away from the discrepancy model for special education identification, where I think there's only 2 schools, us and the K2 building in Livingston, in the entire state of Montana, that have made this jump. And we're excited about the jump, and you can't make this jump until you have your MTSS systems very dialed in to move away from the discrepancy model. And so that will be happening during the 26-27 school year, and then high school will make the shift fully 27-28. They're encouraged to use it this year. We get very few initial evaluations at the high school level, so it's only a handful of kids that we're talking about at the high school. But the bulk of this is K through 5 kids who are struggling in reading or math and working through, do they have a learning disability or not? Okay, page 5, early literacy goal. If you recall in that annual report, we saw, again, great gains, close to, or I think it was over 80% of those kids became proficient by the end of the year. In the 5 classrooms at Morningstar, we're expanding. Construction's happening right now at Irving. So there'll be 2 new ones at Irving, so we'll have 7 classrooms. We can serve up to 126 students. The foundation was able to fund the startup costs for one of those classrooms. The district's funding the other classroom, and we're also moving the 3-year-old special education program to Irving. So Morningstar will have 5 regular ed and the 4-year-old special ed. Irving will have 2 regular ed and the 3-year-old special ed.
On the early literacy goal, I know Megan's been working on the early math literacy. Where does that fit in here, or is that not?
Yes, so it fits in 2 places. So when we're qualifying kids for Summer Jumpstart or for the 4-year-old program, they can qualify on literacy or numeracy. And then the 4-year-old programming has numeracy. It always has had numeracy, but it has numeracy built in. So it fits those 2 areas. In terms of Megan's outreach to the community, it's still focused on the literacy piece. She hasn't, to be honest, the community hasn't quite been ready for the next step. Yeah.
And then tagging back to the other goal, the special ed for those 19 to 22-year-olds,
Yep.
and focusing on literacy in the community. Is there anything built in there for, I imagine those folks would also need math literacy? I don't know if that's a part of it, or I'm just curious if that has come up as a need, or,
It hasn't come up as a need. I know that I would imagine those things row together often. And I guess it's something for Amanda to explore, certainly, yeah, as we move forward.
thanks, I was just curious.
6, we have, there's quite a bit of pages 6, 7, and 8. If you're going to do a close read on any of this document, please read those 3 pages. I'm just going to summarize. We've had student well-being and staff well-being sort of as separate goals. They still are separate goals, but we are talking about them and rowing on them together. Understanding that when we have challenging students in our classrooms, it can impact staff well-being. We also know that we have students impacted by staff well-being. So it works both directions, and it can work both directions positively or negatively. Also, we know that we can get this student well-being thing right, and we can get this staff well-being thing right, and if we're not living in a healthy community, or we don't have families in good shape, we're going to have diminishing returns on those others. So all 3 of those pieces are connected together, and we're kind of talking about it and thinking about it in that direction moving forward. So page 7 zooms in on this student and staff well-being that, and you'll notice when we get to the action items, there's very specific action items tied to some of this. And so, for example, we collect a lot of staff well-being data. Student well-being data, we have the YRBS, but we don't do the panorama surveys on relationships and engagement, and so we're going to be exploring that moving forward, making sure we have the student voice as well. And then the community, family well-being, we have a bunch of great partnerships with community organizations, and we have Patrick McClellan's position uniquely focused on that as well, as building out and continuing to grow those partnerships. So moving down to the action items where I think some of this will kind of hit home. This is where you're going to see quite a few new items. There's exciting things going on. And so Youth Resilience Project is a go. It's going to, we received a significant community nonprofit grant from the software company Wisetail. And so Wisetail is a learning management software company mostly used by the business sector. They're going to host the Youth Resilience Project for us, and they're going to help us get it off the ground. We have the hosting and the support for 3 years with no cost to the district, which is pretty exciting. Patrick and I are starting with Wisetail later this week. We have Johanna scheduled for some days this summer, and our goal is early fall to get that thing launched. A reminder that it's going to be like 3 20-minute modules, about an hour to an hour and a half of training for the community on student mental health, signs of suicide, how do you have vulnerable conversations with kids about how they're really doing. Number 2, the foundation has funded for 1 year the youth prevention specialist. We have that position hired, so, what's her name? Taylor Gooch, school counselor from CJ Middle School, was hired into that position. They're actually going to be right next door. Athletics has moved out, and so Taylor and Johanna will have those offices right there, and she'll hit the ground running in the fall. Peer-to-peer suicide prevention program at the middle school and the high school, facilitating signs of suicide program, and then supporting Johanna are her 3 main projects for the year. Number 3, we've been doing some learning recently, and Jen Lammers and I have been learning together on some of these things, and we have a there's a lot of research out there around children and adults who have ACEs, so adverse childhood experiences, trauma factors, that to build resiliency and to help you be successful, there's things called positive childhood experiences and adult positive experiences. And it's like, for example, having a relationship, if a child has a relationship with 2 or more adults outside of their family structure, adds to their resiliency. And so we're leaning into that, that research, and we just happen to have the Montana Institute in Missoula, and they have an office in Bozeman. A lot of one of the key researchers in this in the world is at the University of Montana. So it's kind of in our backyard, and so they're coming in to do some work in our district, and we're going to partner with the Montana Institute. It's also going to help shape how we communicate about mental health and about the Youth Resilience Project. So for example, all of that research I'm talking about on positive community norms changed how like health departments in the country make their, do their initiatives. So you used to see like the picture of the meth addict on the sign, and it was sort of like scare tactics, and it didn't work. And so now there's research saying a sign that says 80% of this community or 95% of this community do not have a significant issue with methamphetamines, and framing it in a positive light really helps to change what's going on. And so we're gonna lean into that research. They're gonna do some training of our executive team and training of our principal team in this coming year. Number 4, we are full steam ahead to launch the app at the high school called The Commons, and they're working through all of that, the tech pieces of that and the onboarding pieces of that. Parents will start getting some communication over the summer about how they can proactively get their child's phone with the app on it. And we've heard from other schools and have vetted the Commons app pretty carefully, and it works, and it's being well received in other communities. Okay, number 5, we've talked about over time that for the high school to fully move forward with braided MTSS and PLC systems, they need more resources on the social, emotional, behavioral side, that the academic counselors we have spend most of their time getting kids college ready and enrolled in courses and writing letters of recommendation and all of that. And so we added 2.0 counseling student support, 1 at each high school, and then a year from now, we'll add 2 more. One of those would be the Taylor Gooch position. And so at the end of next year, we would have 2 FTE at both high schools in addition to their current counselors to support social, emotional, behavioral needs. 6, we're going to work with the BEA to update our teacher evaluation tool. I'm just going to be transparent. I've run into, in these funding conversations with the foundation, with community members that really care about student mental health, without fail, they will bring up examples, and they approach it very carefully by saying, my son or my daughter or my grandchild has gone through your school district, and 99.9% of their experiences with their teachers were awesome, but let me tell you about this one teacher. And so we know that with that student-teacher relationship, that if we have teachers that are stressed out and not at their best, that they can be negatively impacting our students. So part of that is upping our game on the teacher evaluation side of things. Right now, we have a kind of an antiquated software tool where it's online and principals complete it online, and the teachers can receive it digitally, but it doesn't collect that data in any way, so we don't have any sort of dashboard to say our first-year teachers are struggling with this standard or this standard, or why are all of the evaluations from this site glowing and they're not from this site. And so there's some standardization and some training we're going to do with our principal teams, and we're going to update software tools, and we need the BEA to partner with us on that, and it's been a while since we updated the tool.
I have one question, yeah. Thanks, I really appreciate this, and I'm just curious, can you give us a little more detail on what the evaluation tool is intended to do and how often it's
Yeah.
given?
If you're a non-tenured teacher, it's like twice a year. And then when you're tenured, then you go on like a every 3-year cycle. But the tenured teachers are sort of like, they set professional development goals, and they don't really go, they reflect, they do a self-reflection on the rubric, but it's not really like detailed principle getting into all the rubric items. That happens in your first 3 years. The tool, we use the Danielson framework. There's about 5 big frameworks. The Danielson one is great. It's been around forever, but it's been updated and we haven't updated it. So we're gonna keep the Danielson framework, update to the new standards, and in doing so, then all the technology tools that we'll be vetting will be applicable because they're all running on the new version. Okay, 7. We're going to be working with the BEA either at the DOCC or a subgroup, or maybe even in negotiations. I'm not sure where or how it's going to happen, but our 2 things. Our principals and central office have a significant desire to move away from anonymous panorama surveys. It's just, we have too many people that care, and when there's information in there that's like we want to help and fix and we don't know where it came from, it's super frustrating. So we're going to be working on moving away from keeping panorama, but moving to the non-anonymous version, and then adding a student survey, being very mindful of our kids, because of MAST and other things, are over-tested, and so we're going to be strategic about what grade levels we pick and how many questions it is and how long it takes for kids to take it. But we're interested in things like engagement, well-being, student-teacher relationships. We found in our adult survey that our teachers say, like almost 80% of our teachers say they have positive relationships with their students, but they say like only 45% are saying positive that kids are engaged. And so there's some disconnect there, and we're trying to get the student lens on are their classrooms engaging, and how do they feel the relationships are with their teachers. 8 is maintain wellness champions, and 9 is all of those many items that came out of the staff well-being. We are meticulously working on those and checking in on those. Final page 9 is profile of a graduate. We've talked about this. Patrick McClellan reported on it recently. It's becoming way more than a plan on a page. And so you adopted standards for this year. We're going to bring people together, figure out how we're going to teach this and how we're going to measure it. And then the following year, we're going to adjust our reporting tools so that it shows up on report cards.
I have a quick question about we're gonna move away from anonymous with the staff and well-being surveys, but will the students, when we incorporate it, would the students be anonymous?
Yes. I believe the student ones will be anonymous. Yep.
Yeah, back to page 2 on goal area 1. I'm curious if the percent we're increasing, like to 75% proficiency, do we have any data on the 25% of their progress and their growth?
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, if you go into like the annual report and go into the building level, we have it, our principals and teams have it down to the student.
Yeah.
So we know at what, if, for example, if you had Kate Suit sitting here, she could tell you by name who are the non-proficient kids at each grade level, which ones are MLEL, which ones are special education, which ones have significant trauma factors. So yeah, our teams understand that pretty pretty intimately.
And then we have data on how what their growth is, their
Correct.
progression, yeah.
Yeah. The Acadience reading tool doesn't really have a it'll show you progress over time and whether that progress was significant or not. The Ames web tool we use for math, and then middle school uses it for reading. It has kind of fancy growth metrics built into it, similar to STAR when we had the STAR. So yeah, we do have that growth data. Yep.
Casey, with the new positions, I see some counselor positions, and if I recall, and also some on our other report that we had that we approved, there were some sped positions hiring or opportunities for hiring. Are any of those, I want to say concerned, but I guess it would be a concern as far as filling them and having new positions and filling either old positions as well.
Yeah, good question. Mars has we can just answer that question right now. Why don't you just give that staffing report? Yeah.
Sure. To date, we have posted 83 certified positions. I'm just going to talk about the certified positions. And we have filled 77 of them. We have 5 positions left to be filled. A 0.5 math intervention teacher at the middle school, a 1.0 fifth grade teacher, a 1.0 school counselor, a 1.0 special ed / intervention teacher at an elementary school, and a 1.0 special ed deaf and hard of hearing teacher. So we're doing well, and some of these are going to be difficult to fill.
So to answer your question specifically, our teacher of deaf and hard of hearing has been kind of the most notorious difficult position to fill, and school psychologists. We luckily hired some school psychologists recently, and then special education is kind of right behind that. And so I feel pretty awesome about where we're at sitting here in July with only 5 unfilled positions. So the positions you're talking about, so we have like an elementary counseling position, and in the counseling world, you kind of have your high school counselors and your elementary or middle school counselors. So I don't think we're going to have like any diminishing returns of, oh, we shouldn't have added because we can't backfill this position.
Any other questions or comments for Casey?
I just have to say that I'm really glad that we're adding social emotional counselors at the high school. I think that will be, it's critical, and I think it'll be well used, serve a lot of kids, so that's great. I support that.
Casey, I was just to add in here in this section, as we had the multiple pages, I think 6, started on 6 and started going back. To me, it's encouraging to start blending all these things together, looking at it all together, as well as then be able to have some additional thoughts and feedback, not only on the impact that teachers have and other staff have on students, and that it goes both ways, and finding some metrics on how to measure those things throughout the district. I think that will be helpful and as you mentioned the example, you get stuck with a teacher for 1 year, that's a long period of time for a student and a parent trying to navigate that. And like you said, 99% of everybody else could be great, but that's something that's significant and impacts them for 9 months. So I think trying to have added additional evaluations to our process throughout the district, in many other areas as well, I think is, I'm encouraged by that. And obviously, you'll be able to weigh some things, and there'll always be some outliers on all these things, but hopefully provide people some positive feedback. So I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Sandy?
Just have one more. I mean, and the other thing that I really appreciate is I see how many partners we're adding and engaging with at a deeper level. When I was teaching, it was a three-legged stool, right? There was the student, the teacher, and the parents. But I also love the idea of community too, because, it is a community that is serving and paying for and serving our students. And we're really engaging in that part. And I appreciate all throughout this document, you can see the partnerships that are being developed and used, and the strong relationship we have with the Bozeman School Foundations. So.
Liana?
Yeah, Casey, I just want to add how much I appreciate the work on this. I don't know that there's any other school district in the state that is at this level of how integrated and well thought out, and that we can all talk about it. Like we all know it, and that's like, thanks to everybody in this room for making that happen. This is incredible, So thank you.
All right, I entertain a motion to approve item 4.1.3.
I make a motion to approve action item 4.1.3. Is that right?
Second.
Motion made by trustee Bertelson, seconded by trustee Lucine. Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Next item, we don't have anything for board discussion. We clearly have no public comment. So reports, executive cabinet.
I just have two quick ones. July 30th and 31st, some of us, Mike and Mars and Mr. Waterman, will be in Helena for a AA summit. The AAs are coming together to talk about items of interest to each district, and then there's some breakout sessions with the deputy superintendents, HR, and business folks. So we'll be doing that July 30th and 31st. You're going to start seeing construction downstairs at the Wilson, and so the business office HR restructure is going to take place beginning end of July, and it's really going to run August and September. And so it won't be done by the start of school. So basically, the major disruption will be the payroll department will move across the hall to the old board room for the summer. The rest of us will kind of stay put until the whole thing is done, and then we'll do the shuffle. And it's quite a shuffle at the Wilson. Patrick McClellan moves to Mars' office. Mars moves to my office. I move to Pat Strauss's office. It's just kind of a domino, but when it's all said and done, it's going to be awesome, and we're excited about having kind of the payroll, business office, HR, streamlined functions all in one place. So if you have stipend issues, contract issues, we're not running back and forth between both offices. It all happens in one place, and then it'll give Mars my office space for the private HR conversations. Anybody else?
Mike?
School Funding Interim Commission meets next week for, I think, the second to last time, this meeting in July, one more in August. The draft agenda's been posted. There's some information out there, as I think they are trying to wrap things up and get a handle on things before the final report is issued in August. What they're looking at is student-based adjustments to the current funding formula, inflation, special ed, school facilities are the big ticket items on there. We've had a lot of presentations the last couple months about the CAMPS proposal, but the word CAMPS proposal is not anywhere on the agenda. I don't know what that means one way or the other, but I just want to let you know that that's happening, because I know you're hearing a lot of the conversation from MTSBA. So next Monday and Tuesday in Helena, it's a different room than we were in previously, but next Monday and Tuesday. Thanks.
Anything else? Okay. All right, 7.2, Board of Trustee request calendar concerns, reports, future agenda items, open meeting topics. Yeah.
Yeah, just the last MTSBA Board of Directors meeting, it was talking a bit about what Mike was just saying. Gary and I'll let him talk about that because we went to the last meeting as well. But for MTSBA, much of that discussion is really on this advocacy and what's coming up in the next legislative session. So anybody who's interested and wants to be more involved or how we can have more members involved, be happy to talk more in depth about that.
Gary?
Yeah, thanks. I agree with Leona, and I'll be tuning into the School Funding Interim Commission meeting next week. On Tuesday, they're discussing possible bills. Those haven't been put on the materials list yet, to have some sort of ongoing study commission or something. Don't know what it is yet, but looking forward to seeing what those bills look like, and hopefully they can put something like that together. So.
Sarah?
Although it feels like a long time since our kids got out of school, on June 9th, I did have the opportunity to go to the Irving Wax Museum. So got to spend time with fifth graders at Irving Elementary. And then the day school got out, I think I spent time with half the elementary age students at Kegi Corner getting ice cream. I feel like there was at least 50% of the Bozeman population there.
Anything else? We will have a second meeting in July, so put it on your calendar. Don't miss out for another action-packed, probably a lot of numbers that meeting, potentially,
Big numbers.
and big numbers in the public, hopefully, so. All right, I will adjourn this meeting.